interior and exterior angles of a circle. Part A says, determine the measure of each inscribed angle. So we have an inscribed angle here. Give me one moment. Okay. So for the first problem, we have measure of arc AC. And you can tell it's an arc because it has this curvy thingy on top of it. Okay, so that curvy thingy means arc. Similarly, if you wanted to write the angle, I could have written like this, measure. Why is it not letting me write? Okay, there we go. Measure of angle ABC. So this is the inscribed angle, and you can tell it's an angle because it has that symbol right here. So in math, we like to try to make things make sense. So the angle looks like an angle, the arc looks like an arc, okay? So we're gonna determine the measure of each inscribed angle. They gave us the arc, AC. So that's this arc is 56 degrees. And we are looking for the measure of the inscribed angle. So I want to remind you that for an inscribed angle, the inscribed angle is equal to 1/2 the measure of the arc. This was in our notes. Let me see which box it was in. Was it yesterday's? Yeah. Over here. Angle is equal to 1/2 the arc, or arc is equal to double the angle. So it is in our notes, and I always want you to know where it is in their notes, because remember, notes are allowed on the test, so you better use it, right? Unless you have everything memorized, in which case, good for you. Okay, so we're gonna find our inscribed angle, which is the measure of angle ABC. I didn't write that very nicely. Is equal to 1/2 of the arc. So it's 1/2 of 56 degrees. What is 1/2 of 56 degrees?
28.
28. Cool, thank you. All right, let's do the same process. We have measure of arc, RT. That's the same. Hey, isn't that like one of your names, Artie? Measure of arc, RT, is 140. And so the inscribed angle that we are looking for, so the measure of angle RST, that is equal to 1/2 the arc. So 1/2 of 140. What is 1/2 of 140?
70.
70. Good job. Okay, so does anybody have any questions on these first two?
Do we have to show our work, or can we just divide it and then just put the answer?
You can just divide it and write. It's okay. I'll let you. Alrighty, let's go to the next one. Next two. Okay, so we have measure of arc JL is.
Miss Jade,
Yes?
can I copy the first two?
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I was looking for my book.
Oh, yeah, no, it's okay. Sorry. Let me know when you're done. All right, let's keep going. So we have the measure of arc JL is 15 degrees. So I measured that little arc over there as 15 degrees. And then now he writes the angle, measure of angle JKL is equal to 1/2 the arc, so 1/2 of 15 degrees. And remember, we're halving this because all of these are inscribed angles. Inscribed angles is 1/2, okay? So 1/2 of the 15 degrees, which is what?
7.5.
Good, 7.5, thank you. So 7.5 degrees is our answer. Let's take a look at number 4. We have measure of arc EG. Oops. Over here, that's 86 degrees. And now let's write out the measure of angle EFG. It is 1/2 of 86. What is 1/2 of 86?
43.
43 degrees. Great. Good job. Okay. Anybody need to copy this one still? All right, so let's go on to 5 and 6. So same thing here, we still have inscribed angles, so we're going to end up halving the arc. So our arc is 114, and so the measure of angle STU is equal to half of that, half of 114. What's half of 114?
57.
57, good. All right. Any questions on that one? Sorry, I needed to charge my iPad. Okay, no questions, then let's go to number 6. So we have measure of arc XZ is 67 degrees, and so let's write out the measure of angle XYZ, oops, Z is equal to half of that. So what is half of 67?
33.5.
33.5, great, good job. Okay, and then I'll let you guys have some time to write. So moving on, we have page 29 now. We're going to write an expression for the measure of the given angle. So let's see, which angle are they even talking about? It says measure of angle RPM. So that's RPM. Okay, so we're going to write an expression for this angle, okay? This one that I wrote in blue, because that is angle RPM. So let's take a look at if this is an interior or exterior angle of the circle. So they intersect right here at point P. Is point P inside or outside our circle?
Inside.
Inside. So we have an interior angle. Okay, and so let's go take a look at our notes to see what the equation is for the interior angle. Interior angle is over here on our notes. And so we have that the angle is equal to half arc plus arc. Okay, so half arc plus arc. That's what we're going to write essentially. Go back to skills practice. Okay, so measure of angle RPM, that's the one they're asking for right here, is equal to half, in parentheses, we now need to write the two arcs. So which arcs are we writing? We're writing the ones that the angle kind of talks about. So since our angle is on this side, we want to talk about this arc. And then we're also going to be talking about this arc. So labeling those two arcs, we have arc RN plus, oh sorry, I need to write M for measure. Measure RN, like that. Okay, so this is measure of arc RN plus measure of arc QN. So when it says write an expression for the measure of the given angle, technically I wrote an equation, but it's okay. This is your answer. Half arc plus arc. Half arc plus arc.
Wait, so that's our answer?
Yes, the thing that's in the box is our answer. They didn't give us any numbers, so we can't solve for it. It's just an expression. So like a formula, essentially. That's our answer. Yeah, I'll give you guys a little bit more time to write this because I know there's a lot of letters, a lot of writing. All right, let's move on then. Okay, so we're on to number 2, and number 2 wants us to write an expression for the measure of angle ACD. So let's see, where is ACD? ACD. It's that angle. All right. Okay, so now we have that blue angle that we're looking for, measure of angle ACD. And so which arcs are we going to be adding together? Well, it's the one that's kind of held by the angle. So AD is one of them. And then we do the one on the opposite side, so also BE. Okay, so these are the two arcs that we are talking about. So in our final answer, we have half, and then measure of arc AD plus measure of arc BE. And by the way, if you write like DA, oops, there we go, or ED, or EV, sorry, it's fine too, as long as you know which arcs we are talking about. So it's okay if you switch up the letters. Most of the time, we like to write ABC order, so like A comes first and then D, but if you write DA, I'm not going to mark you wrong because technically you're right. It is DA, same thing, doesn't matter. Okay, so our answer is this thing. All right, we're moving on. Number 3, we are looking for angle J and K, so that's starting at J, go to N, go to K, this angle. Okay, so you can shout it out or type it into the chat. Which are the arcs we are looking for? Should it be like LJ, JK, KN, LM? Which ones?
Is it JL?
JO? O isn't part of an arc.
LJ and MK.
J.
LM.
Okay, I heard LM is good, one of them, and I think I heard someone else say J and K. So I would like, it's so hard to like just hear all these letters. I'm like, what are you talking about? You guys are right though. I heard LM and I heard JK. These are the arcs that we are going to use in our formula. So we have 1/2, and then we're going to add those two arc measures together. So let's do measure of arc JK. Just kidding. Plus measure of arc LM. So those are the two arcs. So we don't want to use LJ, or no, yeah, LJ. We don't want to use MK. You can think of it as like making a bow tie. So if we're talking about like the blue angle here, then you want to like talk about the arcs that help complete your bow tie. So I know this is a really distorted bow tie. They didn't tie it right, but see, it's a little bow tie, like a bow. So you want to be talking about this and this arc, and not the other two, because the other two don't help us make a bow tie with our angle. So let's do number 4 as well. So number 4, we're talking about the angle UWV. That was hard to read. UWV. Okay. Now, which arcs do we want to use?
XY and UV.
Good. XY and UV. Let's write it out. So we have 1/2 measure of arc XY plus measure of arc UV. Good job.
Does it matter which one goes first? Like, can
No,
we
it doesn't matter. No. So you could have written like measure UV arc plus measure of arc XY. It's fine. Because like if you think about it, it's like saying 3 plus 1 is the same thing as 1 plus 3. They're both 4. It doesn't matter which order you add it in. Scrolling down, let's go to number 5 and 6. Same thing. Okay, so we have measure of our angle SWT. So it's SWT. We're talking about that one. So you guys tell me, which are the two arcs we are adding together?
SU and TV.
Well, if we do SU and TV, that doesn't help us make the bow tie with this angle. So not those.
ST and then UV.
Yeah. Wait, you said that, didn't you? I just wrote it wrong. I don't know. Sometimes just hearing all the letters like gets my brain confused. Okay, so yeah, ST and UV are the two angles, arcs that we want. Good job. So measure of arc ST plus measure of arc UV. Good, good. And we have one more. So for this one, we're looking for angle HJI, right over here. This angle. So given that it is that angle, what are the two arcs we are adding together?
Is it FG?
FG is one of them, good, and
HI?
HI, good. So measure of arc FG. Oops, whatever it's, maybe do that. There we go. Plus measure of arc HI. Good job. Let's move on. Zoom out. Okay, we're gonna still be writing expressions for the measure of the given angle. So take a look at all of these. These are exterior angles. So let's zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. For this one, we're talking about measure of angle DAC. So DAC, so it's so messy. This one, okay? And let's take a look at our equation from the notes. So I want to remind you guys that you can look at the notes for on the test. So you might as well know where they are in the notes. So going back to the notes, which by the way, these are the notes that you would copy if you want the extra credit. All of these, all 3 pages. So we have it in box number 39. So that box. And the equation is that angle is equal to half the big arc minus the little arc. So this one, it matters which one goes first, okay? Big arc comes first, minus the little arc so that you can get a positive number for your angle. So big minus little. Half big minus little. So going back here, I'm gonna write it out. Angle is equal to half big arc minus little arc. Okay, so that's the equation we're going to follow. So now, let's write it out. I guess I'll just use purple. I don't know, I like the color. Half big arc is going to be DEC, or you could just call it DC. I think that's fine. You only really need to include 3 letters if it's a major arc. Remember, more than half the circle. So this one's not more than half the circle. So you can just say DC. So measure of arc DC minus the little arc. So the little arc's this one, EC. Ooh, I should use a different color for that because otherwise it gets blurred. DC. Dang. The equation looks weird like that. But yeah, the little arc and the big arc, they both share the point C. Okay? Any questions on this one? Alrighty, let's do number 2. I'm just going to scoot it a little bit over this way. Maybe like that. Okay, and let's take a look at the angle they want us to find. So UXY, UXY. So they want us to find this one. Okay, and so we're still going to follow our formula. It's half the big arc minus the little arc. So in here, big arc is going to be from U to Z to X. So notice it does go through more than half the circle. So this is a major arc. So when I write it out, I'm going to use 3 letters. But otherwise, people might think I mean that side, and I don't want to mean that side. This is not the right arc we are looking for. We are looking for the major arc, so you're going to write U, Z, X. So that is the arc we are looking for, that big one. So that's our big arc, minus, in this case, we don't even have a little arc, right? So you can just say minus 0. Yeah, so sometimes you don't have a little arc, it's okay. So if you don't have a little arc, it's 0. And the reason we don't have a little arc is because point X is on the circle. Point X happens to be on the circle, whereas in number 1, we had point A, the vertex, on the outside. Versus in number 2, our vertex point X is directly on the circle. So then since it is directly on the circle, you only have a big arc, you don't have a little arc. So do you guys have any questions? Yeah, so every time it's on the circle, it's going to be a 0 for the little arc. Yes. All right, we're moving on. Okay, so let's go on to number 3. So we have the measure of angle SRT. So SRT, so that angle. And so remember our formula is half big arc minus little arc. So I'm just going to write it in there. So let's take a look at what our big arc is. Our big arc is over here. Sorry, I didn't finish it. There we go. And since this is a minor arc, as in it's less than half the circle, I can just say ST. You don't have to include the V. You can, if you do arc SVT, you are still correct, but I'm gonna write it as measure of arc ST. But once again, if you write it as SVT, you are still correct. It's just that you don't have to since this is a minor arc, since it is less than half the circle. So we have that as our big arc. Now we're going to subtract our small arc. Our small arc shares the point S, and it goes all the way to U. So that one, SU. Measure of arc SU. Do you guys have any questions on this one? Alrighty, let's do the next one, and I'm going to ask you guys to pick big arc and pick little arc. So remember, our formula is this. Oops, whatever. Okay. And then our angle is FJG. So FJG. So that one. Okay, so that's the little angle we were looking for. So now let's pick out our big arc. What is our big arc?
Is it JG?
Not JG, but G is part of it, yes. What's the other letter?
I?
Not I. Okay, it's gonna be F. So you want to have this one. So the big arc is like your blue angle wants to eat the big arc. See how it's like inside our blue angle? Like our blue angle wants to hug it or eat it or whatever you want to say. The purple is like sandwiched inside the blue lines. So it's FG. So that's our big one. Our little one also gets hugged or eaten by the blue lines. So which letters represent our little arc? This one's harder, huh? Okay. HI. Over here on the bottom. measure of arc H. Okay, so I'll give you guys some time to write or ask questions. All right, moving on to the next one, we have 5 and 6. So let's take a look at 5, it's ECG. So ECG, this angle. So let me write out our formula as well. It's half big arc minus little arc. And now let's find out what is our big arc. Remember, the blue lines like to kind of eat up the big arc. Which letters represent our big arc?
EG.
Yes, EG. Measure of arc E. And if you wanted to say EHG, you are still correct. It was fine.
Can
I'm
we
just
write it
not.
as GE?
Huh?
Can we write it as GE?
Yes, you can also do GE. That's also fine. So you could have written measure of GE or measure of EHG or measure of arc GHE. So many ways, but they're all the same. All of those are fine. And then let's do the little arc. Can you guys tell me which one is the little arc?
DF.
DF, good. That one. Or FD, whichever one you want. It's fine. There we go. So those are your options. All right, good job. And then let's do the other one, and then I'll give you guys time to write after that. So let's do this one. Is oops, just the right part. LPN. So L to P to N. So it's this angle. And notice that P, the vertex, is on the circle. So something's going to happen with our little arc, but we'll get there when we get there. So let me write out our formula. 1/2 big arc minus little arc. So let's start off with the big arc. What is the arc that is being eaten by the blue angle? Being hugged.
LM.
All right, LM, good. And actually keep going until you reach,
P.
yes, LMP.
Okay.
Yep. So we want to make sure the arc touches the blue lines. So if we start at, if we end at M, we are not finishing the arc entirely. So we need to continue it until P so that it touches the blue line again. So LMP, or you could just call it LP or PL. All of those are fine. Okay, and then I already see somebody typed in the chat, what happened to the little arc? Well, since we are on the circle with our vertex, we don't have a little arc. So, good job. Yes, it is a 0. Our little arc is non-existent, it just doesn't exist. It's just 0 because the P is on the circle. So this is similar to number 2, I believe. Yes, number 2. All right, so I'm going to give you guys some time to ask questions or write. All right, then that concludes our notes. So I'm going to stop this recording.